Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 29 of Conversing on Africa's Peace, a podcast focused on the African Union's Peace and Security Council and key related issues, produced by Amani Africa Media and Research Services. I'm Previn Habu, and today I'm joined by my colleague Fikir Getachew. Hello, Fikir.
Hi, Previn.
So, Uganda has taken over the role of chairing the Peace and Security Council for the month of April, standing in for Nigeria. And the program of work adopted under Uganda's chairship envisages 6 substantive meetings, as well as the 4th annual joint consultative meeting with the Africa Peer Review Mechanism, APRM. And also there's the induction of the Committee of Experts. But before we delve into unpacking April's program of work of the Peace and Security Council, why don't we briefly reflect on PSC's engagement during the previous month of March, and perhaps capture some of the highlights and major changes introduced to the program in the course of the month. Looking back, Fikir, how was the month of March with regard to PSC activities?
So in March, Morocco presided over the chairship of the PSC as a step-in chair. According to the rules of rotation of the monthly chairperson of the PSC in alphabetical order, which is stipulated in Article 8, subsection 6 of the PSC Protocol and Rule 23 of the PSC Rules of Procedure, the Gambia was set to be the chairperson for March. However, due to the conclusion of the ambassador's duty in Addis, the typical alphabetical rotation could not be applied during March. So initially, Sierra Leone was engaged to step in as the stand-in chairperson, and the program of work for March was adopted on the basis of Sierra Leone chairing the council. This changed right before the start of the month, and Morocco became the stand-in chairperson for March. We saw the PSC having a much more engaged month than the previous months of February. We remember February was a very slight month for the council, considering that the AU summit was happening. The initial program of work that was developed for March had envisaged 6 substantive sessions, and it underwent 3 revisions, bringing some changes to the program of work. These revisions, so the removal of the session on briefing on the matrix relating to the situation in Eastern DRC, and while the session on deradicalization as a lever for the fight against violent extremism in Africa was initially removed, it was later reinstated back into the program. And the session on women, peace and security in Africa was postponed to a later date, but still happened within the month. Besides these changes, the Council continued with the planned sessions on climate change, challenge to peace and security in Africa, the session on the panel of the WISE, FemWISE, and WISE youth on their activities in Africa. As mentioned, the open session on women, peace and security in Africa also took place. There was also another session considering the situation in South Sudan, and an informal consultation with countries in transition, specifically Burkina Faso, Gabon, Guinea, Mali, Niger, and Sudan. The PSC also saw a ministerial level session on artificial intelligence and its impact on peace, security, and governance in Africa. In addition to the sessions, the PLC also undertook the induction of the new members of the PSC in March at the ambassadorial level. As you mentioned, Previn, the induction of the Committee of Experts will be happening in April.
Yeah, thank you for that look back, Fikir. Looking ahead, as I mentioned earlier, the PSC is expected to have 6 substantive agenda items which will be considered during the month. And the first one of this will be held on 1st April on the International Day for Mine Awareness and Assistance in Mine Action. This International Day for Mine Awareness is always commemorated annually on 4th of April in accordance with a UN General Assembly resolution adopted on 8th of December 2005. The 2025 theme is Safe Futures Start Here. And this meeting is anticipated to build upon the outcomes of its previous session on the previous meeting on the subject, which was the 1146th meeting held in April 2023, where Council emphasized the persistent dangers posed by landmines, explosive remnants of war, and improvised explosive devices, IEDs. Then, on the same day, a Flag Day ceremony will be held for Council to welcome its newly elected members for a 3-year term, as decided during the 38th AU Summit, which was held in February 2025. The countries which will install their flags include Cameroon, Eswatini, Ethiopia, and Nigeria, with the Northern Africa region's representative still pending conclusion of its election process. Then on 2nd of April, the PSC is expected to convene an open session on the theme hate crimes and fighting genocidal ideology in Africa. This session will also commemorate the 31st anniversary of the genocide against the Tutsis in Rwanda. We can recall that the PSC during its 678th meeting held on 11th April 2017 on the theme briefing on the prevention of hate crimes and the ideology of genocide in Africa, decided to convene annually in April a PSC open meeting on hate crimes and fighting genocide ideology in Africa. So this year's commemoration of the genocide in Rwanda is expected to be held at the AU Commission on 7th April under the theme Remember, Unite, Renew. It is also worth recalling that on 6th of April 2024, the former AU Commission Chairperson Moussa Faki Mohamed appointed Adama Dieng of Senegal as the inaugural holder of the AU Commission Special Envoy on the Prevention of Genocide and Other Atrocities, which was announced during the 30th anniversary commemoration of the 1994 genocide against the Tutsis in Rwanda. And amid widespread atrocities and escalating violence in conflict zones like Eastern DRC and Sudan, this year's commemoration of the genocide presents an opportunity to shift focus from general discussions of past years to specific actionable responses in ongoing crises. The AU Special Envoy on the Prevention of Genocide and Other Mass Atrocities therefore plays a pivotal role in this context, with his mandate to identify risks, enhance early warning systems, and regulate hate speech, proving critical in addressing these situations and advancing the AU's prevention efforts beyond rhetoric into targeted interventions. Fikir, what other sessions are on the program?
Moving on the second week of the month, the PSC will travel to Johannesburg, South Africa for the 4th annual joint consultative meeting with African peer review mechanisms. This is scheduled to take place from 7 to 9 April 2025. The 1191st PSC session which was held on 17 January 2024 to consider the conclusion of the third joint consultative meeting of the PSC and the APRM, had requested the AU Commission and the APRM Continental Secretariat to prepare a matrix of the status of implementation of the conclusions for the consideration and adoption by the Council. Additionally, it had decided that the fourth joint retreat will focus mainly on early warning and areas for further enhancing the role of the APRM in contributing towards conflict prevention and strengthening good governance in accordance with AU normative instruments. This fourth joint consultative meeting will be held under the theme Good Governance, a Pillar for Conflict Prevention and Sustainable Peace in Africa. The conclusions of this joint consultative meeting will be adopted on the 15th of April. After this, on 17 April, the PSC will convene for the first country-specific session of the month, which will be on update on the situation in Somalia and AUSSOM. This will be Council's first focused discussion on Somalia and AUSSOM following the official transition from ATMIS to AUSSOM on 1st of January. The previous deliberation on Somalia took place during the Council's 1253rd meeting, which was held at the ministerial level on 19 December 2024. That session had focused on the situation in the country and post-ATMIS security arrangements. The session also saw the Council tasking the AU Commission to finalize the report on the composition of the mission in consultation with the federal government of Somalia. This session on Somalia comes weeks after the African Union Commission, the federal government of Somalia, and representatives from AUSSOM, troop and police contributing countries held a 4-day technical working session. This was from March 23rd to the 26th of March to finalize the capabilities, force composition, and deployment plans for AUSSOM. A key outcome of the workshop was the finalization of the Statement of Unit Requirements, detailing the necessary troop and police capabilities for AUSSOM's mission.
We can see that this upcoming session will be an opportunity to receive update on these issues, on the operationalization of AUSSOM, and also to review the recent trends in the security situation and the fight against Al-Shabaab in Somalia. Following this, the Committee of Experts of the Peace and Security Council will convene on 22nd April for preparations of the induction of the new members of Council. Then on 23rd April, Council will convene a session on the imperative of a combined maritime task force in addressing piracy in the Gulf of Guinea. This PAC session is expected to assess the role of a combined maritime task force in combating piracy and explore ways to enhance synergy among existing maritime security initiatives, an establishment that has emerged as a strategic approach to strengthening Africa's maritime security. If you can recall, during the 38th ordinary session of the AU Assembly, President Bola Tinubu of Nigeria called on the PSC to establish the combined maritime task force to bolster security in the Gulf of Guinea, and expressed Nigeria's readiness to host its headquarters in Lagos.
Yes, Pravin, and this aligns with earlier commitments made by the PSC, such as the Port Harcourt Declaration of May 2022, where African Naval and Coast Guard leaders endorsed the creation of the Combined Maritime Task Force. The last substantive PSC meeting will be held on the 25th of April, and it will be a reflection on the political landscape in the Sahel region, with a focus on the regional implications of the recent withdrawal of the republics of Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger from ECOWAS. Following the announcement by Burkina Faso, Niger, and Mali regarding their withdrawal from ECOWAS, a decision prompted by the sanctions imposed on Niger after the July 2023 coup, it's worth noting that the 37th Ordinary Session of the AU Assembly in February 2024 expressed, quote-unquote, grave concern over the joint communique issued by these three nations. Despite ECOWAS offering a 6-month extension, the withdrawal of the three Sahelian countries, which had formed the Alliance of Sahel States, officially took effect on January 29th, and this event marked the most significant crisis in West Africa's regional integration since ECOWAS was established in 1975. Beyond its implications for regional and continental integration, this upcoming PSC session will also provide an opportunity to reflect on the broader consequences of this fragmentation for the African peace and security architecture. And in addition to these meetings, the last activity of the program of work will be the Committee of Experts induction, which will take place in Cape Town, South Africa.
Thanks for that, Fikr. So that brings us to the end of another episode. We wish Uganda a very fruitful month as it takes the chairship of the PSC for April 2025. And we wish everyone taking part in the work of the PSC productive discussions on the important topics outlined briefly here today. We are happy to encourage our listeners to dig deeper into the PSC's agenda, as well as the analytical work that we produce. Before we go, as usual, we'd like to wish the following African states happy National Days of celebration, which will happen in the course of March. We have Senegal on 4th of April, Zimbabwe on 18th of April, Tanzania on the 26th of April, Sierra Leone, South Africa, and Togo on the 27th of April. Let me also thank our listeners for joining us for this month's edition of Conversing on Africa's Peace podcast. We hope you have a great month and a productive year ahead. We'll be back next month to consider the PSC's agenda for May 2025. Until then, goodbye. We wish you all peace and prosperity.